Welcome everybody then to this evening. And since pretty much everybody has, excuse me, heard my little spiel before about who we are and what we do, but I guess Dave hasn't. We are first I need to make a land acknowledgement, which we learned during our valuable How to Be a Good Neighbor, which we are repeating again in January for 5 weeks. So maybe some of you who didn't join us last time might want to join us this time. So I'm Linda Sechrist, one of the founders of the Reset Center and the president. So my land acknowledgement is we are living on the land of the Miccosukee and the Seminole Indians, but originally this was Calusa territory. And as Gary says, we don't really know all of the people that were here before us, but the Calusa suffered genocide at the hands of the Spaniards, and most of them they were just wiped out. So they were stewards of the land. They took care of the Everglades and where we're sitting on Naples. Naples used to be part of the Everglades. So on to what our Reset Center is about. We have, today we do some of these reset conversations on a monthly basis. We've been doing this for, I think, at least 2 years. Haven't we, Holly? Just not, I think it's at least 2 years we've been doing reset conversations once a month. 3 years? Holy cow, okay. So what we are is about restorative, ecological, social, and economic transformation. And what we really wanted to do was transform people's hearts, because if you don't do that, they're not buying in to the climate change and how to be a difference and make a difference. So Holly and Gary and Joan, I think Maria used to be on our board, but and then
Graham,
yeah.
And Robin Cerny.
And Robin isn't here with us though.
Oh, she just came in. She just not here yet. Yeah, oh, Robin's here too. So mostly our board is here, except for Joe.
Good. Yeah. They can hear that what stealth things Dave is doing, going to the children. So anyhow, we offer opportunities for educational around regenerative agriculture and clean water, because we knew that those two issues alone would help our area with its major problems with the algal blooms and the the runoff. So anyhow, I'm going to go on to our introducing Dave. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. He's not quite here yet. Baby. We met him at the climate summit that was at the Arthrex building way back when. I think I know that Maria was there. Weren't you at the? I thought we saw you at the Arthrex building. Okay, Joan, I know you were there because you were at my table. And Gary and maybe Graham, were you at the Arthrex conference? No? Okay. Well, it was a big climate conference. There were at least 250 people who were at that conference. But we don't know what kind of action that they're taking now. It's kind of like you have all these conferences and you hear all this wonderful information and then nothing. It's kind of like what Sharon Joyce says, there's nothing after that. So that's why we do what we do. So Dave, are you ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Yeah, I think you can best introduce yourself. I would just like to say that one of the reasons that I'm so excited about having Dave on is that he is being stealth. He is going after the kids. Yes, yes. get the kids involved with all the activities in the schools. And I just think that's the way to go these days. And he's never mentions climate change in any of it. So take it away, Dave, and tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, Dave Finnigan, like you guys, I'm a youngster. I'm only 81.
Oh my gosh.
And in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, I grew up as a nature lover. And that's what we used to call environmentalists before we discovered environmentalism. My grandfather was a 3-term Republican congressman from Pennsylvania. And every summer, we would go out to Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and I got to wade around in the swamps and catch fish and eat the fish that we caught. And I was a nature boy. I would leave the house first thing in the morning, and the only rule was be home by dark. And so I did that and had a great time doing it. And eventually, after having traveled around the planet with my dad, who was in the Navy, ended up at Cornell. And Cornell is far above Cayuga's waters. It's a beautiful place. And frankly, I went there because they let me have my dog on campus. So I spent 4 years at Cornell studying anthropology. And what interested me most about anthropology was culture change. How does culture change? And now that we're entering, at that point, the 1960s and 70s, the world's got to change. And cultures have got to change. Things have to be different. And how is that going to happen? And how can we guide it so that it's not painful and so that people come out at the other end in good shape? And that was what drove me. So first, of course, as we all did back then, I went in the Army for 5 years. That was the Vietnam era. Luckily, instead of going to Vietnam after 3 years in Germany, they sent me to Korea. And on the way to Korea, I stopped the Population Council in New York. And I said, I'm really interested in helping make change in the world. And I know that you guys are working on family planning in East Asia, and I would like to be part of that process. And they said, oh yeah, we'd like to have you do that as a volunteer. You can be a volunteer with the Planned Parenthood Federation of Korea. So when I got to Korea, the first thing I did was I checked in with the Planned Parenthood Federation, and they said, oh yeah, we need you. Here's what's happening. We're writing all these papers on the family planning program in Korea, and they're all in Korean. And we have to translate them into English, and then we have to go to World Health Organization and UNICEF and all these other organizations and make presentations. So we need English language translation of all of our papers. So please come sit down with us and do that. So for a year, I helped the luminaries of the Korean family planning program without asking for anything in return. Meanwhile, there were PhD students coming in principally from the University of Michigan, and they were going like, yeah, I'll help you do your paper, but I want my name on it. And I didn't want my name on the paper. I just wanted to be helpful. So after a year as a volunteer, finally they said, well, you're about to get out of service. Why don't you take a discharge over here in Korea, stay in Korea, and become our consultant? We'll arrange it. So they got in touch with the Population Council and said, would you pay this guy to be our consultant? And so after a year as a volunteer, I was a paid consultant for 2 years. And help them to create their family planning program. The goal was culture change. The goal was to take the average family size, and this was their goal, not my goal, their goal, the average family size of 6 kids, and reduce it to 2. And we did it. We did it in a single generation. And the way we did it was a model that we then replicated from Korea to Taiwan to Thailand to Indonesia. And that was village level women going door to door, talking to other village level women. And they had to be young women in the childbearing age. So The young women went door to door. They talked to other young women. They organized what they called mothers' clubs at the village level. And then that's what changed the culture. Now, economists and demographers came along later and looked at what we did. And they said, oh, we see what happened. Child survivability went up. Women's participation in the labor force went up. Children's health went up. And therefore fertility fell. And they get it backwards. What really happened was, first, women started talking about what makes sense. And here's our message in Korea. Girls are as good as boys. Have no more than 2. Space them well, and get a good education for your kids. That's what changed the culture. It wasn't health, it wasn't women's employment. Those are artifacts of what we did. So what we did is kind of forgotten. So I look at what's happening now in Africa and in parts of South Asia that are just now getting on the bandwagon, and they're getting the wrong message. Their message is more women in the labor force and help the kids survive, and then fertility will fall. They're missing the key component. The key component is, hello, Mrs. Kim, I'm Mrs. Lee, I live over there. That's the key component. So I did that for a decade. Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia. And then I went, okay, time to do something else. And that's what this stuff is behind me, is the something else. Because while I was in my doctoral program at the University of Washington, which I think you're now quite familiar with, Holly, I learned how to juggle. Now, I didn't learn purposefully. I learned because I was walking across the campus and I saw a guy juggling. And I said, that's really cool. Can you teach me how to do that? And he said, I'm not allowed to. I said, what do you mean not allowed to? He said, I was taught by a magician. And the magician told me, I'm not ever allowed to teach anybody how to do it. And I went, why? And he said, because it's a secret. So I watched him for a while. And what I saw was that he was making infinity signs in the air with a single object and then adding other objects to the pattern. I'll demonstrate. I learned how to slow it down. You start with one object, in this case, a nylon scarf. Then you add another. Then you add another, and now you're juggling. And every time one gets up, you throw another one. And it's making infinity signs in the air with objects. So I wrote a book, and the book was called The Joy of Juggling. That's why this is all behind me. And The Joy of Juggling is fully illustrated and tells you how to be the world's greatest juggler. And I started going around to elementary schools with this book, with a program called Juggling for Success. And I also did conference presentations where I taught the entire conference to juggle. I did over 200 keynotes. And I sold books. I went to Germany to the Buchmesse, the Frankfurt Buchmesse, and I sold the rights to my book in German, French, Italian, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, a couple of other languages. There are bootleg copies available in Chinese. We sold over 1 million books. We started a movement. And today, if I go to the International Juggling Convention, which is happening right about this time of year, or to the European Juggling Convention, they go, oh, there's Herr Finnigan. I have his book. So I'm a celebrity in the world of juggling. So the first thing that I did in life was to learn how cultures change. The next thing I did was to go out and test it in Korea by helping them change their culture. The next thing I did was help create the worldwide juggling movement. And now I'm getting ready for the next one. And the next one is, how do we get the kids, the parents, and the teachers to go green? So that's what the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide is about. Now I'll be quiet for a while.
No, we want to hear from you. I mean, I think that is the most brilliant thing, is to get all of those, to especially for young people, to be involved with that. And if you can start a movement, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, that's what it's going to be. See, so I got trained by Al Gore, because the Al Gore people found out about juggling for success and found out that I had a lot of success at the elementary level, going around to schools and getting kids and teachers excited. So I went to training in January 2007. I think it was Al's third training course. I had to go to Nashville and spend 3 days, and I got the scary slideshow, which we all have seen.
Inconvenient truth.
Yes, it was right after the movie came out. The movie came out in the fall, and in January, the slideshow and the training started. So after I got trained, I said to Mr. Gore, I showed him the brochure. I said, Mr. Gore, this is what I'm doing now, but I'm going to come back to the next training, and I'm going to bring you a brochure about a climate change program. And he said, oh, that's wonderful. And so I came back and I brought Climate Change is Elementary. And Climate Change is Elementary was modeled on Juggling for Success. It's a one-day program. It starts with the teachers meeting in the morning. I take the kids a grade level at a time. Each grade gets a different set of instructions, either juggling or climate change, based on their understanding. Like with the juggling, it's pretty easy. If they're in kindergarten, they do 1 scarf. If they're in 1st grade, they do 2 scarves. If they're in 2nd grade, they can do 3 scarves straight up and down. And if they're in 4th grade, they can do the cascade, and 5th grade can do it all. And I move the 5th graders on to beanbags, balls, rings, clubs, razor sharp knives, flaming torches, and household pets. But with climate change, what I did was I took each of the critters that is going to be affected most by climate change, and I made a story about it. And then the kids got to act out the story. So the 1st graders became frogs, and the 2nd graders became manatees, and the 3rd graders became monarch butterflies, and the 4th graders became sea turtles, and the 5th graders became Florida panthers. So that there are all these critters, and they crawl around and they have fun and they learn. The problem is, in every school in Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Colorado, in every school, at least one grown-up came loaded for bear to family night.
Oh.
This is not in the South. This is up in the Northeast. And they came with, I know all about this family night. I know all about this climate change thing. It's a hoax. It was invented by the Chinese, you know. And so it became difficult. So what I did is I created a slide, which eventually became a banner, that I hung up over the stage in the school. So when we have family night, and that guy, it's always a guy, stands up and makes his pronouncement, I say, okay, let's all stand and read this together. And everybody stands up and I point at it and we read, whether the climate is changing or not, and whether people are responsible or not, our kids deserve a clean, green future. Let's give it to them. So that quieted him down, and he either joined the conversation or left. But then I came home to Florida, and I tried to get any school in Florida to take Climate Change is Elementary, and they wouldn't. They didn't want to talk about it, because remember, Rick Scott was our governor back then?
Yes.
And you weren't allowed to mention climate change?
No.
So I went, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Well, luckily we had a plague, COVID. And when COVID came along, I had the opportunity to sit down and start writing on the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide. And so I took the checklist that I had been passing out to families with the Climate Changes Elementary program, and it had 100 actions that families could do. And I turned it into the index for the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide. And so any family can take this guide and they can begin the process of going green. So they just choose a page, any page, and on that page, they'll find English and Spanish. They'll find a coloring book feature. They'll find a quote from somebody famous, and they'll find a game or puzzle. And the game or puzzle is based on the stuff above. So whatever they see here in English is going to be in the puzzle down below. So who's the book for? Well, the book is for families. And it's not for kids. I would never give this book to a kid. I would give it to a family. Well, how do we do that? We do it with family night. Everybody has seen the model. The model is called invite the family in for family night and pass out the books as they come in the door. Scholastic Books does this. They call it a book fair. Well, we're going to have a book fair with only one book, the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide. So during the day, somebody, a green-hearted mom, probably, takes the book around to classrooms and shows it to the kids. The kids get to go through it and fall in love with it. They get to decide that they really want to have a copy of this book because the book has so much cool stuff in it. And so then they drag their parents kicking and screaming to family night. As the family comes in the door, each family gets a book and they sit down with their book on the floor. And then Professor Green, that's me, or it's the PTA parent, or it's somebody, it's a teacher maybe, points to a family, and Susie raises her hand, and Susie says, and Professor Green says, what do you want to talk about, Susie? And Susie says, I want to do this one. Install reflective window film. We're going to do this in our house. Great. Everybody who can do that, look at your grown-up. If they give you a thumbs up, jump up and shout, we can do that too. So now all the kids jump up and shout, we can do that too. And then Professor Green points at another kid. Okay, Bobby, what is it that you guys are going to do? And Bobby says, we're going to get an energy audit. Professor Green says, everybody who can get an energy audit, jump up and shout, we can do that too. And pretty soon, all the kids jump up and shout, we can do that too. And some of the parents jump up too. So Professor Green goes around the room, and I've done this. It works. It was at a K-8 school in Orlando at Arbor Ridge K-8. I couldn't stop them. Every kid wanted to say something. We did 60 out of the 100 items before the principal finally said, and we had to stop. So the kids were so excited. And so then the next thing I say, or Professor Green says, is grown-ups, if you want to be on the green team for the school, raise your hand. Great. If your hand is in the air, stand up. Great. If you're standing, come to the front of the room. Great. Put your arms around each other's shoulders. Principal, take a picture. This is your green team. So in one day, we go from nobody knows about going green to all the kids know about it. They're excited. The families know about it. The teachers, we started with a teachers meeting. I don't know if I said that. There's always a teachers meeting at the beginning of the program. And so now the teachers, the kids, and the parents are all excited about going green. There's only one missing element, and that is that they don't have the book. So then they can have a free book because I give away the URL. So they can go home and they can get a free book. Or they can pay $20 and they can pick up a book that evening. Well, of course, knowing that in advance, many people will just download the book, but many people will buy the book. My goal is not to sell millions of books. I was a Boy Scout. I had a Boy Scouts handbook, but that wasn't the key to Boy Scouting. The Boy Scouts handbook was just what you referred to when you had a question. Scouting was all about getting together with your friends and having a good time and doing something important. And that's what this is all about. So if I sell 1 million books, great. If I sell 100 books, I'm okay. I've already invested enough in this. But now I want to get everybody to get a copy. So that's my goal now, is to get the digital book or the print book into the hands of every family in North America. And let's get this thing going, because trickle down has not succeeded. We're on COP 28. If COP 4 or 5 had succeeded, we would be at 0 carbon footprint as a world right now, but they didn't succeed. And the reason they didn't succeed is because they weren't talking to the people. So instead of just having trickle down, I want to create bubble up. And bubble up creates bubbles of change at households that create big bubbles of change at schools, that create huge bubbles of change at communities, that create nothing but a bubble of change at the local level. And it goes up, 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 and meets the change from the top trickling down. So we have bubble up meeting trickle down. And that's what this talk is about.
But Dave, there's not enough of you to go around. How do you help spread the word then? Because you're just one person. How do you do that?
Every PTA has a green-hearted mom. You've met her. She's the one who's going, there's too much trash coming out of this cafeteria. And why don't we have a school garden? And how come we don't have solar panels on the roof? And she's been a pest up till now. Well, she's going to be Professor Green for that school. And she's going to come into the school with a load of books, and she's going to go classroom to classroom, talk to the kids, get the kids excited, get the teachers excited, and she's going to convene family night, and she's going to do just what I would do, because I'm going to train her the way that this is happening. We're going to have seminars on Zoom where you can learn how to be a Green Actioneer.
Okay. I think it's brilliant. I just think it's brilliant.
It's the result of a life thinking about just one thing, and that is, how does culture change, and what am I going to do next? And so I've done 2 successful ones. So now I'm not going to quit. I'm only 81. Come on, give me a break.
You know, Dave, I think that you're just the kind of person, you have just the kind of project that Reset in the very beginning set out to support this level of change making. And starting with, you're just brilliant. It's good I was muted through everything you said so far, because I've been yelling and screaming and laughing really loud. And I've never done this in a Reset conversation before, but you bring so much joy. And it's so brilliant. It makes so much sense what you're doing. So I'm wondering how we, even though I'm here, I'm really there with you, how we in Southwest Florida and Collier County and Lee County and Charlotte County could get this into our schools. How do we do it?
We show them this video.
Yeah, I think so. I invited a lot of teachers to come to this, but since they're not real familiar with the Reset Center yet, they didn't show up. But maybe we can share this video with lots of people in our school districts. And David Sinclair, what county are you in?
You're muted, David.
I think he's around.
I'm in Hillsborough.
In Hillsborough County. So
yeah.
I mean, this could happen in Florida. It could be revolutionary.
Yeah, I think Florida is the place to get this started. And the reason is because nobody expects it to come out of Florida. Because we've had Governor Scott, and now we've got Governor, what's his name? And by the time they're finished, everybody's afraid of Florida. And we're not going to make America Florida again. We're going to make Florida America again. Yeah, but you know, these slogans are really important. For instance, Al Gore's slogan seemed to be, here's how bad it's going to be when we do everything wrong. And my slogan is, here's how great it's going to be when we do everything right. And it changes people. When you hear that dismal, scary stuff, especially as a kid or a parent of kids, you're not enthusiastic about changing your own life. You're enthusiastic about pulling the covers over your head and going back to bed. But what I want people to do is get to work. And the way they do that is really simple. They just get a copy of the book, either free digital copy, or they can buy the actual book for $20, and they just go step by step through the book. They don't have to do it in order. There's an index. Go to the index, find the things that turn you on, and do the things that turn you on. In fact, I wrote a poem about this and put it in the book. So if you'll indulge me, I shall now do the poem. The poem is called, sorry, I've been on stage too much in my life.
That's good.
The poem is, Let's All Go Green After Quarantine. I promise I'll only take 2 minutes.
Okay.
Let's all go green after quarantine. We know for sure it's time. Let's do our best to heal the earth, create a world sublime. COVID was good training for the crisis that's a coming, like a loaded train at breakneck speed with all its wheels a humming. So let's begin right here and now to create a greener place. Start with simple things, go step by step, and go at your own pace. Our book should help. It has 100 actions to review. They're for city kids, suburban folk, and country cousins too. So get a book, go down the list and choose some simple chores, like sealing drafty cracks around your windows or your doors. And there's all that power that you waste by leaving cords plugged in. Just think about your household as if all that waste's a sin. How do you choose what to do first? Maybe the easiest part. I bet there's at least one action here that hits you in the heart. Like plant an indoor garden or switch to LEDs, eat less red meat, more blueberries, yellow squash, and green peas. Or take shorter showers, compost every table scrap, make drinking water right at home with a filter on the tap. And you can look for an open space to plant a bush or tree or a backyard vegetable garden, and then you eat for free. Look through the book and make your plan with saving dough in mind, or shoot the moon and spend some cash on actions that you find, like solar panels on your house, or that spiffy electric car, a reflective roof, new windows too. You're a clean green superstar. Let's all go green after quarantine. We have no time for slack. Once you do go green, I think you'll find you never can turn back. And when we all have taken steps to create a clean green scene, we'll all be glad we took the plunge and went green after quarantine.
Bravo, bravo. Joan, I think you have a question, maybe?
You got to unmute,
You're on
Joan.
mute.
Unmute yourself.
Actually, I have an observation. I think your poem would make a great lyric. And I think that a catchy song would
Right.
get that message across to families. And I really believe that that would work great.
Find
wanna
me
do it, Joan?
a person or organization that can transfer that into a song, because I've shown it to people and asked them, people who make music, and none of them have grabbed it yet. But I'd
No?
love to have somebody do that.
Joan, can you do that? Do you write music?
Yeah.
Well, I do. I have written a few songs, but I'm not a songwriter. I'm a singer.
I'm a
as you know.
songwriter. I'm a lyricist. What
Yes,
I
you
need
are.
is somebody who can put something
Yes.
behind it. I mean, we could always do it as a rap.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's possible. But
Give me some music and I'll say it.
I'll give it some thought and see if I can come up with some suggestions.
Love it. Love it.
Me too.
Thank-
Me
Yeah.
too. I just met a fabulous musician at the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation who's a
Ah.
musical genius.
Yeah.
And I heard that he puts other poetry to music.
Oh,
He said
Oh,
that.
funny.
He said that on
Yeah.
Sunday. So
Tell him
Okay.
that I'm from Edmonds, because I was
Okay.
Oh,
23 years. I lived in Edmonds, Washington, And then I moved because I had elderly parents who lived in Florida. I moved to Florida to
That's
be
why
with
we went.
elderly parents, as so many people do. And then they
Mhm.
departed from this earth and left me in Florida.
Right. Can we
But
get
That's
a
what
copy?
happened to
Celebration.
us too.
Mhm.
People
Yeah.
here in Celebration say, you really have a West Coast kind of a feeling. Why aren't you in Berkeley where you did your
Yeah.
master's degree?
Yeah.
Or University of Washington where you did your doctorate? Why are you here in Florida? And I say, you bloom where you're planted. And I'm
Mhm.
needed in Florida. Maybe I'm not needed up in Olympia or Edmonds or Seattle.
Is it possible to get a copy of those lyrics of the
Yeah,
poems?
the whole book. I'll give you, I'll drop it. I'll drop the book, the link to the book into the chat right now.
Okay, great.
As time goes by, it's going to take me a minute to find it and so forth.
Right.
So let's keep talking. In the meantime, I'll do two things at once.
Those, your books were not ready when we had when the conference was, but are they ready now? We were wondering, as Reset, if we could purchase some of those and then resell them
Yes.
and kind of advertise them at our Seed and Plant Festival.
Yes, yes.
Better than that, let's get Dave to come to the Seed and Plant Fest.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk, we'll have the song and make a whole big deal about you being there. That's what I think. And because
When is that?
December 9th
Yeah,
in
sure.
Fort Myers.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'm even gonna fly out there for it.
Put that date on your calendar, Dave. Put
It's
that
on the calendar. That's an easy day to remember. My birthday's the 11th.
All right.
Ah,
Sagittarius.
I'll send you the links.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, Beverly, was that just you? Because I had it ready to drop. So if you drop
Yep.
that link, that'd be great. For the
Okay.
Seed and Plant Fest, you're all invited to be a part of that. We just got the Pachamama Alliance. Surprise, Gary. The Pachamama Alliance of Southwest Florida just donated through an anonymous donor $250 to buy free seeds and free seedlings, plants for kids to have,
That's
for us to
great.
give to kids
That's
to do. So that could work together somehow.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love Pachamama. I took the training about 15 years ago. I loved it. When it
Yeah.
first, I happened to be out in California. That's one need. And I've got so many needs. One thing I'd like to do, I'd like to become part of a nonprofit and be a fiscal project of a nonprofit. So if you have or know a nonprofit that would like to have me in this project, then please volunteer. Because I don't want to run it. I just want to be able to go out with my begging bowl and ask for contributions so that we can get more books. And then the idea is that there are 5 contributors in any one school to the books. First, we have the parents can purchase a book. We also have the PTA put in a little money. We find a local sponsor like an EV dealer or somebody who puts solar panels on roofs and let them be a sponsor. And then we have something like this, where we get together as a unit and we go out and we ask for money. So there are all these possible ways that we can raise money for the school to buy enough books for every family to have a print book. But as I said, if they don't, that's fine with me. Give them the digital book and let them get the list and start going down the list. Because what counts more than anything else, just like the Boy Scouts, it was the troop that counted, not the handbook. And the same thing is true with this. It's the actions that schools take and communities take, not me selling books. So.
You know, I truthfully have not been so excited about a reset conversation as I am this one. I mean, I just know, I'm participating in this, with the 2040 group, and Dave, she was at the, the summit also. You probably met her.
Will you tell us all, Linda, what the 2040 group is? Sorry to cut in, but.
Oh, okay. Actually, it's called the Carbon Crew Project. It's carbon reduction for Earth well-being. There is a film that is 2040. You can watch it for free. And then the book is a complement to it. And we meet every week. We do homework, we read the assignments. First of all, on our first time last week, we had to find out what our carbon footprint was. I don't think we used that website, Dave. I don't think that's what it was called, but we did do a carbon footprint. So each of us came and said what ours was. And then the idea is that after you learn all of these things about what you can do, is that you implement them. And at the end, you do another carbon footprint. You actually do a plan for how you're going to reduce your carbon footprint. And I think that Josephine, who's in charge of this, said something like 70% or 40% of the emissions in the United States come out of households.
Yeah.
So, you know, your program for kids and this one, I think for adults, although yours sounds much more fun.
Mine's fun.
Yeah. Are a really good combination. I'm like so excited to get started on this.
Well, the problem has been up till now that there's so many people caught up in this trickle down idea. I'm going to go to COP28. I'm going to work at this level, at this high level. That's not where change takes place. Change takes place in the heart. And then it goes from the heart to the family, from the family to the community, from the community to the world. And in our book, we tell a story about 4 families. The first family is a downtown family. They live in the center of the city, and it's 2 moms and 3 kids. And we never talk about anything else that. You just notice that if you want to, you don't have to. And they live in a walk-up apartment, and their carbon footprint is very small. The second family lives in the suburbs, and their kids are named Lakeisha and Jamal. We never say they're Black, but their kids are named Lakeisha and Jamal. And so they live in a big house in the suburbs with a 3-car garage, and they have such a hard time going green because they've got so many things they have to do in order to reduce their carbon footprint. The third family is the Chen family, and they live on a mini farm on the outskirts of town. And Mike and Ken Chen are the 2 sons, and they run like a CSA for the school. And they have a hydroponics operation, and they have a fish farm, so that they do aquaponics too. Mm-hmm. And then toward the end of the book, we meet a little girl named Awenita. And Awenita is a Native American. And nobody in her community has ever gone to this school. The name of the school, by the way, is Watson Elementary. It's elementary, Watson. Thank you. And so Awenita finally shows up at school. And she says, my community, which is behind those trees, has been guarding the headwaters of the river that runs through the town since people started coming in here from Asia, Africa, and Europe. And we've just moved farther and farther away from you. And now our whole community is back behind those trees. And we have our own educational system. We're not sustainable. We're regenerative. We're beyond sustainable. And we can teach you how to be regenerative too. Yeah. So let's do that together. So then her community works with Watson Elementary and helps the whole school community become regenerative. And then Watson works with the whole town and helps that town become regenerative. And then that town works with the state, and the state works with the country, and the country works with the world, and the world becomes regenerative. And this all happens because of Watson Elementary, and because the kids at Watson believe in their hearts that if they go green, the world will go green. So that's where I'm coming from. And I hear people, learned people on TV say, it doesn't matter what any individual does. All that counts is the big things that we have to do. We have to do this big thing and that big thing and the other big thing. No, what really counts is what individuals do. And then those individuals, those moms, those dads, they work somewhere. Where do they work? They work for the government, or they work for business, or they work for industry. And they're going to take the ethos that we're going to help them to develop, and they're going to take it to their place of work. And that's going to change the world. So that's how the world's going to change. I can see it clear as a bell. I just need to be unleashed.
Yes, you do. You did it once, twice. This is, I
Twice.
mean, it works.
It works.
So it's proven. So
Yeah.
Dave, and all of you, I just want you to know, we usually don't do this, but a few people asked us to live stream this on Facebook, and we're getting comments on Facebook, and two different people have said that they want to turn the song into a rap, and they know a great musician that's a songwriter that would love to do it. So I'll send you all those Facebook comments after this, but we're getting some attention on this. And this is just very, very exciting. I think that we can take this a long ways.
I do too. I think that
Every semester, I get volunteer students from sustainability at University of Central Florida. And in fact, I've had 60 up till now who have helped me with this project. And I'm going to have more in the fall. And what I want to do is help them to help me to take this project nationwide. And so anything that they can do, that you can do, that we can do, will be really great, because that's what's going to happen, is people are going to have to pick up the ball and run with it. I'm dedicating this decade to this, so that I'll be doing this until I'm 90, and then I'll do something else.
I'm so excited. Well, anybody have any comments, any questions that they want to ask Dave? It's like almost 10 minutes of, and we're finished at 7. So
I see a comment from Hillary about a book club. What is that? Book club with 5 to 9 people with a curriculum based on Paul Hawkins. Do you want to tell us about that, Hillary?
That's the Carbon Crew.
Oh yeah, okay.
It is fascinatingly exciting, just like tonight is, with the chance to go through small groups of not children, which is what we're hearing about tonight, which is so exciting as a pediatrician. I got to tell you, but the Carbon Crew, if anyone wants to learn more about it, it's the first program I've seen that actually educates extremely well. But it's also the conversation, and it's also personal. It works in groups of about 5 to 10 people only at a time. And it's a 5-week book club. But on every stage of it, it's to make the people who are there have the chance to make personal commitments, and then also baked right into it. And it's created by this, I better be careful what I say on Facebook, and very impressive women who are all educators. And it's intrinsic that the group expands, that once you know, it's see one, do one, teach one. And they've already been very successful. So,
well, Hillary, I've tried to get Drawdown, which is Paul Hawkins' organization, to at least say hello. It's kind of like, can a cat talk to a queen? It's really been hard for me to get anybody who is at a high level, like Michael Mann or Neil deGrasse Tyson or any of these people, interested in what I'm doing.
yeah,
So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Help.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help with that. We have a few friends that are friends with Paul Hawkins,
Please.
and you know, he's the Drawdown Project now. Someone else is doing that, and his focus now is his book and project called Regeneration.
In a generation.
So, Regeneration in a generation. And so, if you're trying to reach him through the Drawdown Project, you'll probably run into a dead end anyway.
Yeah,
Because
I went to San Francisco and they wouldn't even let me into the office.
well,
Yeah,
We'll just keep talking, David.
well, I will. And
Yeah.
what I say is that what I've written is drawdown for families. It's
Mhm.
100 things that families can do to go green. And so I would love to have drawdown say, oh yes, and we also have this other thing called drawdown for families. And I would even rename my project if they would go, this is drawdown for families. But it's really been difficult to get to talk to anybody because everybody's so locked in to this. Here's all the bad things that are happening. Here's how bad it's going to be. Please be scared, be very afraid. And I don't do that. And so that separates me from the herd, unfortunately. And so it's been really difficult to get people to understand what it is that we're trying to do, because what we're trying to do is let's start with a positive slant. Let's start about here's how great it can be when we do everything right. So that's, that's the difference. And I'd love to work with them. I'd love to work with, when I asked my college students, my interns, who should be the spokesmodel for our organization, everybody said, Bill Nye. So Bill Nye's near you, Holly. He lives in Seattle. Go get him.
Dave, can you
I
talk?
haven't even been here a week yet, so.
We got a mission.
Can you talk a little bit about what kind of involvement these students had in putting this project together? You
Yeah,
mentioned it a couple of times, but I'm interested in what kinds of things they did.
Well, I stumbled into it before I had the idea of Green Actioneers. So I had them working on Climate Changes Elementary, and what they were doing was creating units that I could use for different grade levels. So they did penguins and polar bears and pika and puffins and so forth. So that was one group, and that's great. And that program still could be implemented where people already have in their heart the idea that we have to go green. They could do the Climate Changes Elementary program. But where they don't yet understand that, then we start them out with Green Actioneers and get them to the point where they agree that the climate is changing and people are responsible. And then we move them on to Climate Changes Elementary. So that's what one thing the students did for me. Then I took the checklist that I had been giving out in Climate Changes Elementary, and I said to them, okay, this one's on rooftop solar. Can you research that for me and give me a paragraph on rooftop solar? So they would have maybe 3 things they have to do. Do laundry the green way, give me a paragraph on that. Donate your old car, give me a paragraph on that. And then I wanted the backup material. And we put that on the website so that you go to the website and eventually we hope it'll be like the Wikipedia for green. So you want to know about donating your car, you go to the website and it tells you, yes, you can donate your car and here's to whom, and here's what you're going to get for it, and here's what they get out of it, and here's why you want to do that, and so forth. So that's what the students did for me. And the next group of students, I'm going to ask them to help to get me onto podcasts and to help to, one thing we need to do is create a digital motor for the ongoing program. I'll show you what we're using for a motor for the ongoing program now. In every school, we expect that they're going to put a chart up on the wall, and the chart has Post-it notes on it, and this is what it looks like, so that the kids can put up a Post-it note every time their family does something. So we call it our Green Action checklist, Green Action display, and it's out in the hallway, and it starts out maybe by the cafeteria or at the principal's office, and then it stretches all the way down that hall because kids are going to really want to put their Post-it notes up there with the things that they're doing. So that Bobby says, Susie's got 3 up there and we only have 2, Mom. We got to do more. And then the kids push their parents to do more and to put more Post-it notes up. And that's going to stretch the whole length of the hallway. I did that with the juggling program. You could put what you had accomplished in juggling up on a Post-it note, put it on the wall. Oh my God, those things completely covered walls in schools. In fact, in one school up in Newburyport, Massachusetts, they repainted the wall in the gymnasium to make it into a forest with a whole bunch of bears in it, which was their theme for the school, their mascot, and the bears were involved in the juggling Post-it notes. So I know that schools are going to get behind this, and they're going to go, oh yeah, you should see our Green Action chart. It's so big, it goes the whole length of the hall. Now, the piece that's missing is to have a digital equivalent of that chart, so that every school, the kids can go online, they can put up a digital Post-it note. Now, what happens with that digital Post-it note? First thing is, it's attached to a number. The number is the reduction in the carbon footprint from that Post-it note. So we can quantify what each kid does, what each family does, what each classroom does, what each grade level does, and what the entire school does by changing this written Post-it note into a digital Post-it note. So that's where I need some help. So if nobody steps forward, then I'm going to ask my students in the fall at UCF if anybody could help me with that. But that would be a big boon to the program, is to have a way to digitize the advancement chart and give them a pat on the back every time they put up a Post-it note, either in reality or digitally.
Wow, I can just say the enthusiasm. It's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's help get this out there. Holly,
Yeah, please.
Gary's not with us anymore. Graham, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to be your spokesmodel.
We would love it. We would love it. Between, like I said, with you and the 2040 book, adults and kids and families. So
Yeah.
covered it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And so no matter what, I'll make sure that this video that we're making out of this meeting
Yes.
gets into the hands of somebody at Drawdown, so the Drawdown can see this is not a joke.
No.
The other side of the coin. It's so hard to get these people who are so caught on the negativity to realize two things. One is positivity and the other is kids. And that's how change really takes place. I know when I was a kid, I said, Mom, I want to listen to that rock and roll music. I don't care what you and the pastor say.
I don't think it's so much of that as people think that they have the right way. They have the information to make it happen. They're not necessarily listening to what you want because they're busy putting their message out there.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but we will definitely help you, Dave, as
Yeah.
much as we possibly can.
Thank you
And
so
we wanna
much. And
Thank you so much
my
for
pleasure.
coming on. Our next meeting actually is Josephine, who will be talking about 2040. And what's the date for that, Holly? Do you know? Or Beverly? I'm looking for it.
Well, send me an invite and I promise I'll be
will.
quiet.
You're on mute, Holly.
Somewhere way above in the chat, I did post a date, so I'm just scrolling down to look for it. And also the link. I created a link to it, Beverly, today, since I didn't see it on
August
there.
15th. August
15th. Oh, my son's birthday. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son's birthday too.
Really? How old's he gonna be? Mine's gonna be 50.
Mine's gonna be 55. Beat ya.
Well, that'll be a happy birthday. So
So we'll be looking forward to having you back to join us for that. And anybody here want to sign up for that August the 2040, the crew project, we'd love to have you. I personally am doing the book club, and I
That's
know
great.
Hillary is, Gary is. I don't know if there's anybody else on here that is or not, but we have a group.
So yeah. And last night, some of us, Dave and everybody, last night, some of us were in a discussion, Monday night kind of statewide groups that some of us are part of. And our speaker was Lisa von Susteren. And I don't know if you know her, but you should know her. And she came to, maybe she was in your Al Gore training with
He was in my
you.
Al Gore training.
Yeah.
I had a feeling when you said that you were together in that.
Yeah.
And so I think she teamed up with you would be very powerful right now because she's
Yeah.
really focusing on children and climate trauma, or the anticipatory trauma. And so
Well-
that would be a great partnership there.
If you send her the video that we get as a result.
We will.
Yeah,
Well, we'll send you the one she did last night.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And this will be on YouTube in a few days. Beverly usually puts a nice little beginning and ending and credits on it and stuff. And it'll be on our YouTube channel. So we'll share it with everybody here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Lisa and I
Yeah.
were in the same class.
I had a feeling when you said that you were in the same class. I wonder if our friend Diane Rhodes was in that class too, from Saskatoon, from Saskatchewan.
Did Algora's class. She was.
She did one of the first too, so yeah. Anyway,
So thank you all for coming tonight, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope you all did too.
I did.
Yes.
This is the first thing like this that I've done. So you have to excuse me for any omissions or
Not.
but this is great for me. It's so good for me to find allies.
Well,
Yes.
do it the same every time. You were such a joy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
all right.
Good night.